Arturis is going to have some opening
Hey,
remarks.
you lost weight?
Good question.
Yeah. Good to see you again.
Casey? Hello. No, I got it.
Whenever you're ready.
So it's great to see everyone. Thank you for being here. Before I go into my opening statement, I just wanted to mention Dikembe Mutombo passing away today. I got a lot of beautiful memories about him. When he played for Georgetown, I played for Seton Hall. And then after I finished European career, I worked for the NBA league office and did a lot of Basketball Without Borders camps. He was a huge part of it, just globalization of the game. Worked for Houston Rockets when he played at the end of his career, and then working for Denver Nuggets organization, and he was huge part of that history, getting drafted by Denver. You know, his contributions to the, you know, to the game of basketball and to the league and to the continent of Africa will never be forgotten. So I just want to express my condolences to his family. So back to my opening statement. Earlier this offseason, we told you we were committed to making changes, both on and off the court, and we have. The results of last season were unsatisfactory, but they presented us with the opportunity to learn, pivot, and take necessary steps to reshape our team. We faced significant franchise-altering challenges in our initial plan, particularly with the injuries to key players. It's not an excuse, but a reality we had to deal with. We stayed patient, gave the group a chance, and now we know that changes we've made were necessary. This is the start of reshaping our roster, our strategy, and how we move forward. This isn't finished product, and we're confident in the adjustment we've made and the direction we're heading. As we enter training camp, we're excited to, to have guys returning and to welcome new players into the fold. This evolution is fluid, but we're focused on building a team that plays faster, is more versatile. Our emphasis is on playing a fast-paced, tough, and energetic style that will showcase the talent we've invested in, particularly our youth, while still retaining key veteran leadership to guide them. This season marks a fresh chapter. How will this group come together? What will it take to define our style of play? These are the questions that will unfold as we learn how to play and win together during camp and early games. We're going to be learning a lot about how these pieces fit together, and that's an exciting prospect. Every player knows the responsibility they carry in shaping this team. We're here to win. Developing our players is crucial, but we won't sacrifice the integrity of the game just for the sake of development. There are fundamental habits and standards of play that needs to be upheld, and this group understands that. Billy will touch on this shortly. We're not where we want to be yet, but the direction remains clear. We are confident in the steps we're taking, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this team can achieve together. And now Billy and myself will take your questions.
Hi, Casey Johnson with Chicago Sports Network. This question's for both of you guys. Obviously, Zach LaVine's going to be the center of attention a lot this season. I know you have no worries about his professionalism, but first for Arturis, how do you vision his long-term fit with the organization? And for Billy, how do you kind of balance Zach's need to have touches with also developing so many of these young players in the roster?
Well, last year has been tough for him, for organization, for the fans. He worked extremely hard to get back to be healthy again, and he's in great shape right now. And we're, as an organization, we're looking forward to see him in training camp. And I'm sure he's here thinking how I can help this team and, this organization to win games.
Yeah, I think just looking at the roster, we have a lot of guys, quite honestly, that need the ball in their hands and that are probably most effective, when the ball's in their hands. So, I think for us, was in a little bit of a similar situation in Oklahoma City with Schroeder and Chris Paul and Shea. Those guys were great to work with, and they all understood that there was a level of sacrifice that goes into it. Hopefully, Lonzo can continue to progress. You have Giddey, Kobe's a guy, Io, certainly Zach, but they're all going to have to sacrifice. We can't have one guy with the ball in their hands all the time, and we got to play in a way that showcases and plays to the strengths of all those guys. Go ahead.
Julia Post, Chicago Tribune. For both of you guys, just looking at Lonzo heading into training camp, how do you approach the next 2-3 weeks for him, and what are kind of the milestones that you're looking for him to hit in the next couple of weeks?
Well, we obviously talk about this a lot, and going into training camp, we're going to have to, bring him up slowly, and he's already played 5-on-5, but again, we haven't seen him go through training camp, so there's going to be a lot of learning experience during the training camp and how he can take loads and everyday practices, so we're going to take one step at a time.
Opening day, or is that still something that's up in the air?
I mean, that's the plan, because, our objective with training camp is to be ready for the first game of the season and use the training camp to build those guys up.
I have two questions. Joe Colley, Sun-Times. Question for each of you. Billy, first, with Zach, you went and visited him this summer. How important was that for you guys to get on the same page? And I know your stance had always been that you have a working relationship, but it definitely seems like things were strained, whether it was on his side or whatever. How important was that visit and that building that relationship back up to where you feel like it won't be a detriment going into this season and beyond, however long he's a Bull?
Yeah, I think, Joe, that every time that I've ever reached out to Zach, he's always been responsive, and it wasn't so much going to see Zach, but, seeing all those guys. I spent a few days in Vegas for Summer League, went to L.A., I saw Zach, I saw Lonzo, I saw Dalen, I saw Io, I saw Kobe, I saw a lot of guys, but I've always appreciated my conversations with Zach just because they've always been open and honest. I think he's worked hard the relationship, so have I, for the time that we've been together. Quite honestly, I think at least seeing him in September, I feel like maybe the last 2 years, this is the best he's come in health-wise, and rightfully so with the injuries he's come off. But I think every year I've done that with Zach, where we've gone out, we've met, and we've talked, and he's always been great and receptive and open to whenever we've communicated. So I appreciate that part of it. And like I said, anything that he and I have ever talked about, like I'm sure there's times in games he doesn't agree with everything I do, or sometimes decision he makes I don't agree with. That happens, but in terms of the communication part, it's been great. I know where his heart is at. I think he knows where my heart's at. But it was more really talking about, I think, this summer about, how we need to play and what we need to do going forward, and how obviously he plays a major part in that. But I felt like the conversations with him and all those guys this summer were great.
And then with Arturas, I know you talk about winning and how that's important, but at the same time, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened with this group. Then you take away your best clutch guy, your best defender, arguably one of your better rebounders. How do you still sell the idea of winning when it's obvious you're trying to do this youth movement? You can't, there's not an NBA team that's pulled off both at once. It's almost like you have to pick a lane and you're not picking one.
Well, I think the ultimate goal is to win, right? I think, the process that we're going through right now, we just started, and it's not a final product. I think, coming into this training camp, there's a lot of players that are coming back from injuries. There's a lot of new faces. We have no idea how that's going to work. Josh Giddey still hasn't, played with these guys, and, we got, added Jalen Smith, and So there's a lot of questions coming into this training camp, and we're going to be going through it and learning about this group, how this group can work together in this mix, and we'll take one game at a time. Because the development is just not learning how to dribble the ball, shoot, and all this stuff. The part of it is adversity, and also to teach those guys what it goes into winning. And although we have a pretty young group, we gotta understand that, like, for Kobe it's like 6th year, right? For Io is 4th year, for Josh is 4th year, for Patrick is 5th year. So it's a pretty young group, but they are pretty experienced. So we're trying to see how this group is gonna play together. We are gonna try to play faster and push the ball, because we do understand that obviously by losing DeMar and AC, there's going to be a lot of players on this roster. They're going to take responsibilities and play the role that they've never done before. So, and the shots that we're going to be hunting is basically rim shots and open threes. And the only way you can do that if you're going to play faster, because every time you set against set defenses, it's very hard to score. So we're going to look for answers, and training camp is going to be for that.
Drew Stevens with the Bigs. Arturas, how important is it to you that you keep your top 10 protected pick?
I mean, this is not our focus. I mean, the focus going into season is basically to define our style of play and to find our identity. What is our identity with this group? And the last thing that I'm trying to to think about is basically how do we, have a home court advantage playing in this building. Last year we had a losing record. So those kind of things that, I'm trying to focus on instead of, what's going to happen after the season.
Will Gottlieb, CHGO. Last year after the season, you said your goal was still to win a championship, add 10 wins to the record from last year. Obviously, with this group, it seems like maybe heading the opposite direction. But what is kind of like your plan to get yourself back to that point? Like, what are kind of the concrete steps that you are looking to take over X amount of years that are going to help you get back to that point?
Well, concrete steps has started to change. And go into the season right now, we have so many questions, in training camp, how this group is going to work together, and constantly being open to make adjustments, to make changes, and we in the stage that we have to find out a lot of things about this group, and going into the season and training camp, those are the things that we're going to be looking for.
Cody Westerlund with 670 The Score. This is for Billy. Is the plan to start Kobe, Zach, and Josh Giddey together, or how do you just kind of view those three in relation to the starting lineup and fitting on the court at the same time?
Well, the unfortunate part is because of Josh's situation, right? We've had a lot of guys in here for most of September, right? He's the one guy that really hasn't been able to get out there with those guys. Clearly, he's going to be a major part to the team. I think what Arturas was talking about, even like the development piece, like there's a whole thing that goes into some of that, right? It's not only on the court, but it's also off the court too, and building habits that you want. Because if you're going to talk about winning, you've got to do things. Now, maybe in a particular night or situation, we may not be good enough to win, right? That could happen, but we got to at least establish that. So I think those guys establishing how to play with one another is going to be really important, So it's hard for me to sit here and say on opening night, this is who we're going to start, when I haven't even seen these guys really play together, in particular Josh. And then hopefully Lonzo's coming back and will be able to at least contribute at some point, and we'll monitor and see how he goes. But I'm not opposed to playing, quote-unquote, 3 point guards or 3 guards together at all. I think it'd be very effective. provided those guys all understand what that entails. You know, that was the one thing that was great having Chris Paul. He'd have no problem going off the ball and giving the ball to Dennis or giving it to Shea, and that's kind of the give and take that you've got to be able to do. So I definitely see situations, you know, whether or not we start that way of Josh and Kobe and Zach, or Josh, Kobe, and Io, any of those guys being out there together.
And then a quick follow-up to that. Defensively, how do you think that would play out? Like, can you survive
Yeah,
defensively?
I mean, we're going to have some defensive challenges, there's no question, you know, and I think we're going to have to really be a team that's collectively going to do it together, you know, so to speak. I think you mentioned, you know, Alex not being here as great as he was, and he started and came off the bench, but we're going to have to play five guys. We're going to have to do different things schematically. We're going to have to do different adjustments or changes, you know, throughout the course of the game, changing coverages. We're going to have to provide help in certain situations if there's mismatches. Clearly, if you're playing three guards, somebody's going to be lining up potentially against a mismatch, and you got to find some areas that you can kind of cover for each other. So I've always been a big believer that defense is played with five, and we're going to have to play with five. There were situations, quite honestly, with Alex that you could throw him on a guy and you didn't need to bring any help. He could handle it. You know, we may not be in that situation, but it doesn't mean we still can't work to be good collectively as a team.
Well, Cody took John Greenberg from The Athletic. Cody kind of took my question there about defense, but I really was curious just because I heard you on the radio, Billy, talking about how worried you were defensively, and not just with the three-guard lineup, but just in general, because we're hearing a lot about shot profile and playing fast. But, you know, when you guys talk about winning, how worried are you that defense is going to be the cause of losing most nights?
Well, the other thing, too, is there's a lot of things I think that are growth opportunities inside, right? So, like, to me personally, there's just an integrity to competition, right? Like, when you sit there and say development, we're just going a development route, and we're just going to put a bunch of young guys out there and let them play 35 minutes and see what happens. Sometimes that's not the best learning experience. Clearly, in between the lines, there's growth that takes place there. But there's also growth in terms of a guy like Matas, who's a 19-year-old kid learning what a routine is, how to take care of his body, how to eat correctly. Like, those are all development pieces, too. It's not just in between the lines. And if you just throw somebody out there for 35 minutes and you don't teach them the things that they've got to do to build a routine, to build habits, to put them in a position to be successful, not only individually but inside of a team, you know, it becomes difficult, you know. And is playing time important to a player's development? Absolutely. But there's a lot more that goes into it than just that, and I think a lot of it's outside the line. So, you know, from a defensive standpoint, we're going to have to do it collectively, you know. And when you talk about the winning component, yeah, we can play as fast as we want, but if we don't really defend well enough as a team, you can't be good. If you look at really good teams, they're always good, you know, on both ends. That's the development part. The development part is guys understanding what are the things I have to do individually and collectively to put myself, you know, in a position to win. I don't know what the season is going to look like after 82 games or where we'll end up or how we'll be, but I think there's an integrity to competing, and there's integrity going out there every single day and doing your very, very best. You know, and I think what Arturas is saying right now from the developmental piece, yeah, we want to develop all of our players, but it's not a situation where you're taking yourself back and saying, hey, let's just throw all these young guys out there, give them 35 minutes to see what happens. That doesn't work either, in my opinion, you know. Like I said, playing time's important, but they also got to understand what are the things I've got to do to put myself in a position to be successful and our group to be successful. And listen, we're going to have some learning experiences, because one thing, you know, that was a huge luxury for us is 2 of the last 3 years that DeMar was here, we were great in the last 5 minutes of games. So we could play really, really close for 43 minutes in the last 5 minutes. It may be a learning experience for a guy like Kobe and some of those young guys to be in those situations to learn, you know, what it's like. Zach, obviously, throughout his career, being a guy that's been in the league for, you know, so long, he's been in those situations, but some of these other guys are going to get thrown into those situations. And Vooch has been in those situations, but you're going to have some young, so it's going to be a learning curve. So there's a lot of things that go into that from both ends of the floor if you want to be good. And, you know, we're going to have to try to establish those things. Now, that's the goal. Now, what the final product looks like, but that's what we're trying to move towards.
Ryan Baker from CBS Chicago for Arturo O'Billy. How big was or critical was the leadership growth with your younger players, with Io and Kobe, organizing that mini camp in Miami during the DNC and running that? And how are you looking for that to pay dividends as the season gets going, with them elevating not just on the court but in the locker room?
Well, I think that you know, Patrick's going into his 5th year. Kobe's going into his 6th. Io's going into his 4th. These guys are not players that have been in the league for 1 or 2 years. So this is another developmental piece, you know, of how can they become and take more of a leadership role and a responsibility role. Like, I thought one of the things my first year here with Larry Marketing and Wendell Carter and even Kobe, they were so young and so much was asked of them leadership-wise that they just were not, they were trying to find their own way. But I do think some of our guys that are kind of moving into the middle parts of their career, that's another, like, that's development to me. I thought Kobe, and it was probably well documented last year, you know, started to utilize his voice a lot more, and he needs to continue to do that, as does Io and Patrick and Vooch and Zach, who are veteran guys. But that's also a huge developmental piece that when I first got here, Kobe was not even in a position to do that. And he's in a much, much better position because of the work that he's put in towards that.
I mean, to follow up is basically this summer was again, growth experience for them, and the next step that they took, they started to work out together. And that's the only way if you're gonna invest in relationships and you're gonna invest into each other, this is the next step for this group, I think.
We're gonna get a few more.
Arturas, you said that keeping the top 10 pick is not an organizational focus, but it obviously would help your kind of next roster iteration here to keep that pick. So have there been any conversations organizationally about reducing the role of guys, established players like Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, and more dramatically, not bringing them off the bench, Billy? I mean, you said you haven't decided to start in line. Have there been any organizational conversations along those lines?
Casey, there's a lot of conversations, obviously, but you know what we decided to do is basically look at this training camp and what we can see with this group in training camp and take one game at a time and to see this group's growth and their roles and their rotations. We don't even know in terms of rotations or roles each going to play. So there's a lot of things to find out about this team. And, down the line, those are the thoughts that we're going to be, looking into.
Arturas, Billy, Josh Hicks, Honor Daily News. When it comes to Kobe White, he obviously made a strong case last year for Most Improved Player of the Year. Talk from an on-the-court perspective, what are expectations that you have of him, especially since now that he is in that 4th, 5th year, 6th year role where he has more of a role offensively in that starting point guard position?
Well, in my mind, he was Most Improved Player in the league last year. He took a huge jump. And, and again, his growth is basically his voice is getting better, his leadership. And he's going to be in situations this year that he's going to have to take more responsibility, and we'll see him grow this year. That's all I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think the one thing for me with Kobe that I always enjoy is he always finds things to learn. And I think one of the things he learned last year that he was not didn't have the endurance to handle the load. And I think that was a lot of his summer was spent doing that, and we talk about the development piece. Like, that's a development piece for him that he probably didn't have to deal with the first few years of his career. Now, all of a sudden, he understands the stamina, endurance that he has to have as a player. And generally, when Kobe puts his mind to something, he generally gets better at it. But I know that was a major focus for him this summer.
Arturas, I kind of know how this is going to be answered, but I have to ask it anyway. With Zach, how important is it as an organization and you specifically to continue to try and shop him? And has there been a discussion with him or his representation that, hey, we're going to try getting you to a place that benefits you, or it's important for us to get you somewhere by this date or by this date? I mean, is it that in sync that you guys are looking to move him, or is there a scenario where you've told Zach, be ready to stay here?
We look him, like I said, he's never been, last 2 years has never been in position to be as healthy as he is right now coming into training camp, and I expect him to be ready to contribute to this team. We as an organization going to be open to anything comes our way, but Zach is part of this team, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in training camp. The last game he played is the month of January, so he's looking forward. We're looking forward to see him in training camp. And
team in February, though?
Joe.
Gotta ask. I mean, he's been a rumor for 2 years.
Well, he's a big part of this team. He's going to have to fit in, with our plans and the way we want to play. And he's, as far as I know, he's looking forward to that as well. So.
Do you anticipate getting a contract extension done with Josh before the season starts?
I mean, we're probably going to have a conversations, so we'll see what happens.
And then second, is Patrick Williams 100% healthy and ready to go?
He's ready to go. He's been playing 5-on-5. Again, we'll use this training camp to, to bring him up, slowly. We haven't seen him again play in the game for quite some time, so he's going to, he's going to be in drills. He's going to be in contact. He's going to play 5-on-5, and we'll see what he's going to play. So.
Darnell Mayberry, The Athletic. Billy, you had a shakeup on your staff. What does that mean? What can that mean for a team? And specifically about Dan Craig and Wes Unseld Jr., what do they bring?
Yeah, no, I appreciated, the staff's work last year. A lot of great guys. Certainly Wes got a chance to know him a little bit just for his time in Washington, head coaches meetings, those kind of things. I give him a hard time because I was in training camp with the Wizards, and his dad was the coach. So I got tortured pretty good at Bowie College. But great guy, obviously a wealth of experience. Arturas knew him very, very well for his time in Denver, and got a chance to spend some time with him this summer. I think he'll be terrific. Dan Craig was a part of Miami Heat for a long, long time, and then obviously with the Clippers as well. So I think fresh new voices, fresh new ideas. It's been wonderful working with those two guys, throughout the summer and moving into training camp. Thank you.
Hey, Julie, how you doing?
Hello. Vooch, Casey Johnson with the Chicago Sports Network.
That sounds weird.
It does sound weird, but we're back. We're new. So you were the one kind of for 2 years saying, we know changes are going to be coming if we don't win. Changes have happened. What do you kind of envision your role on this team, especially as they pivot to more of a youth movement, and what do you think about the roster overall?
Yeah, obviously changes happen, and we have, a younger team that we've had. So first, I definitely feel old around here a little bit. But no, I think it's, I'm excited for this team. A lot of good young pieces. And it'll give us a different look on the court. But I'm excited. I've been here for a month now, and we did a lot of playing, a lot of work together, and it's great to see all these young guys very motivated, very excited to play, and helps me also, being veteran now, to be around so much youth gives you a different type of energy, and so I'm excited for it. Obviously, some of these guys have had big roles with us for the last couple of years, like Ayo, Kobe, Pat. So they've been around, so they're young, but they still have some feel for how it is. Obviously, Zach's here. He's been around for a long time, so the two of us are kind of veterans. And then, but for me personally, just try to be, good role model to them, help the young guys, especially, guys like, Matas, rookie who just came in, very big potential, could be a big asset for this franchise for a long time. So try to help guys like him and all the other young guys, be a good leader, be a good voice, lead by example. So yeah, just similar to what it was before, being one of the oldest is kind of one of your responsibilities. But I think this year a little more because, I'm by far the oldest, and then and then after that is Zach, and there's kind of a pretty big gap. So Tori as well is older, but it'll be fun. A little bit of a different maybe role in certain areas, but I'm excited for it.
Vooch, Joe Colley, still
to
the
see
Sun
you, Joe.
Times. Good to see you. You talked about the changes coming. The changes that were made, first of all, were you surprised that it was DeMar and AC, and well, obviously Drum was just a free agent that was allowed to walk? And secondly, when you hear Arturas say that they're not done making changes, that this is a work in progress, do you feel that your time limit or your shelf life may be expiring too, or you or Zach, that this thing could be ever changing as this year goes on?
Honestly, I don't think about it. It's stuff that's out of my control. My focus is on this team and try to, help this team be the best team we can be. And, the stuff that's, as far as, change and all that, that's not my job. That's the front office's job. And, they make decisions over the summer that they felt was the best for this franchise. And, you accept it and move on. And I'm sure it's not easy when, guys like AC and DeMar leave, because they were a huge part of this team, not only for their quality on the court, but for who they were off the court and the guys that they were, and as as human beings. And obviously for me, especially in DeMar, we're very close, and going back to college. So as on a human side, yeah, it's tough to deal with, but you just have to accept it's part of this business. Now, obviously, we didn't have the team results we wanted, and we could have had, and so the team decided, the front office decided to go in a different direction, and that's it. And now we have different team, different guys, and I'm excited to play with Josh, who came here for AC, and he's a very good player, so yeah, we'll see how it all goes. And like I said, I'm excited. I think it can be a different look for us. A lot of motivated guys, and so yeah, it'll be an exciting year. I mean, with DeMar, he was a free agent, so you knew that anything could happen. And I'm not sure what exactly all happened, but he ended up making a decision to go to Sacramento, and so with AC, I think they felt like Josh would be a good fit for us with his playmaking and everything, and maybe it had to do with AC being in the contract year and all that. So I don't get involved in that as much. I don't, something that I have an impact on anyways. But yeah, like I said, we're going to miss those guys. They were great guys for us on so many levels. Changes happens in the NBA, and that's part of the business we're in, and I just have to accept it and deal with a new situation when it comes.
Vooch, Julia Post, Chicago Tribune. Billy was pretty frank about defense being a concern for this team, and we know in past seasons rim protection was already kind of a concern, a talking point for you guys. Just kind of how, as you assess this group, how do you approach the defensive side of the ball going into the season?
Yeah, well, definitely something that we'll have to put a big emphasis on. If we want to, be a good team, we'll have to be good on that end and be consistent. Obviously, losing AC, who was a big part of our defense. Obviously, for his quality as an individual defender, as a team defender, him being the vocal guy that he was. You definitely miss guys like that, but missing a big guy like Drum, who was also big for us in the paint. But a lot of the defense in the NBA is about a team defense and team effort, and I think that's how we're just going to have to do it. We're going to have to really be good defensively as a team, help each other, cover each other, communicate. We have smaller team size-wise, but that will give us more speed. Hopefully we can use some of that to our advantage. But yeah, we'll just have to really focus on that end, and obviously I think most players enjoy the offensive part more, but I think we have talent there, and we can be pretty good there. But our defense is going to have to be our main focus, and Wes Unseld, who's in charge of the defense this year, I've worked with him before. He's worked obviously with the Nuggets, who became a championship team. He's been on some very good teams, had a lot of experience, and I'm sure he's going to help us out a lot as well this year with that.
Nicola, for you started your career with Orlando when they were young and trying to develop. They talked earlier about trying to develop winning habits and trying to be as competitive as possible. But how hard is it going to be for this group? If it's a younger group to develop those winning habits if losing kind of happens and snowballs.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we have the approach of wanting to win and try to win, that helps. I think it's different when you're kind of in a full-on rebuilding situation. That's not the case here. But I think that to begin with, we have guys that do want to win, that are competitors, that are not just going to go out there and just play to play. We're going to try to win, and we have high-character guys on this team, which is very important. So, if we start off, camp, working hard, putting in the effort, work on everything that we need to work on to try to build good team chemistry that can help us, hopefully win games. That's a good start. And then, you can never control how the season goes. Maybe we'll, maybe we'll play very well. We'll win a lot of games. Maybe we won't. You don't know how it all goes. A lot of things can affect that. But I think that it's important that we have the mindset that we want to win. And I think that's been the case. Obviously, Billy is huge on that, and he always emphasizes that. But all the other guys, even the young guys, I mean, you guys know how Kobe is competitive, how Ayo is competitive, all of us here as well. And so that's going to be our focus, try to win as many games as we can and, go through the ups and downs of the season together, and hopefully, we're able to have a good year.
Hey, Vooch. Andy Diedrich on your Daily News. A lot of new additions this year, but specifically I want to talk about Josh Giddey. He's coming from the Oklahoma City team. He helped lead a pretty potent offense over there. What sort of things offensively can you think of, like specifics, do you think he's going to be able to add to the Chicago offense?
Well, I think, his playmaking, obviously he's a very good passer, good pick and roll player, good in the open court. And, I think that's something, when Lonzo was injured, we missed a lot, and now you get both of them, which will be great. But yeah, I think Josh, obviously coming from OKC, a team that's known for their work with young players, their culture. They had a lot of success, especially last year. That's going to help as well. He can bring some of that over to here, and he's played in also a lot of big games with the Australian national team. So although he's a young player, he has a lot of experience, and that's going to help us. So I think he's a player that can fit very well with us because of his playmaking. We have a lot of guys that can score and guys that like to have the ball in their hands, and so I think having him will allow us to play faster, better in the open court, maybe get some more easy baskets. I think for me, it can be very good as well. If hopefully as we get to play together more and more and build that relationship, two-man game and things like that. So yeah, he's a very good player. I was always a fan of him when he played for OKC, and so I'm excited to play with him.
Vooch, Will Gottlieb, CHGO. How do you anticipate being used a little bit differently this year on the offensive end? And what are some things like on the court that you can do to help some of those younger players you were talking about develop?
Yeah, I think there are going to be situations where I think I will be used a little different than we've that had here in the past, just because the way that the team is built now and the different players we have. I do think I can fit very well with some of these guys that we have here. I love playing with Ayo and Kobe. Guys that get downhill, that are very good in pick and roll, which is great for me. Now with the addition of Josh, Lonzo coming back, so that will be good. I think I have also a good relationship with Pat as well. So there are definitely going to be ways that I think I can be used differently in the past, and some stuff that I talk with Billy and things like that. So I'm excited for that. And then, sorry, what was the second part of your question? Yeah, well, I think obviously my experience, my IQ on the court, help the young guys, try to make the game easier for them, try to help, try to put them in positions to be successful. It's not easy always as a young guy when you kind of become the primary focus on the opposing team defense, counting report. Things are changed, things are a little different. So I think my experience can help a lot in that. Like I said, my IQ, I think my playmaking as well. So yeah, I think my ability to play inside out can open up the floor for guys like Ayo, Kobe, and other players. And yeah, so just try to use all my experience that I've gathered over the years and try to help them out on the game during the game and make it as easy as I can. And also the vocal presence as well. Talk to them, help them out if they're going through a tough stretch or anything, or if I see something that could help them. Different ways I can do it.
The Athletic. Jalen Smith is a guy you got to see last couple years in the division. What have been your impressions with him in the building so far?
Yeah, very, very talented player. Offensively, he can play inside out. I know when we played against the Pacers, whenever he would come in the game, tough matchup to play against. He's a little bit, maybe small as far as height, but big guy, runs the floor well, plays fast, which I think will help us. But has length as well with his wingspan, help maybe with protecting the rim and things like that. But yeah, he was a good player for the Pacers. Gave us trouble a few times when we played against them. So. When we played pickup, here during September, it was fun to compete against him. It's good for me because he's a bit smaller than me but quicker, so makes me move my feet a lot when we play and things like that. But yeah, good player. I think he's going to help us a lot. Obviously, we're going to battle a lot during camp and practices, and but yeah, I think a good addition to this team for sure.
Coach, Josh Hicks, Honor Daily News. Kobe White is coming off of a pretty impressive season where he obviously made a case for Most Improved Player of the Year. As he continues to ascend in his career and he's really entering his prime as someone that's gone through that process, what advice would you give him as he continues to take that ascension? And just a second question as well. Obviously, Derrick Rose retired recently. What is your fondest moment of playing against Derrick Rose?
Yeah, as far as Kobe, I mean, I can just not a whole lot I can say. I mean, he's a very, very hard worker, sometimes even too much to where they have to pull him back if he's had like little things bothering him. Huge competitor, plays with a lot of emotion, with a big heart, great team player. But just we tell him to continue to work on his game, to continue to evolve. I think maturity is going to help him a lot, experience, and I think he's shown he's had up and down moments throughout his career around here, and then last year he just took a huge step when the moment presented it. He took on it and really exploded and played great for us, and was up for Most Improved Player, and I think now that gave him a lot of confidence, and I think he should just continue to build on it. But yeah, just when you spend time with Kobe every day and you see how much time he puts in the gym, how committed he is, how much he cares, you expect good things to happen for him, which they have. And so I think as he gets older and he starts figuring out the game even better and everything, he's just going to continue to grow and be a better player. And as far as Derrick Rose, I was a huge fan of his game always. My rookie year, unfortunately, when I was in Philly, that's when he got hurt here. But I mean, before that. I mean, when we remember one game in Philly, he just went off. I think he had 30 or something. But just the way he was playing, how explosive he was, the way he was cutting, the way he was one of the toughest guys to defend in pick and roll, just getting in small spaces, finishing around the rim. Amazing player to watch. And I really, always enjoyed watching how humble he was and how he acted off the court. He never really was about the fame or the lights or anything. He was just about playing and competing, and always loved that about him, and always was a big fan even before I got to the NBA watching him. So huge respect for him, huge respect for, obviously his career that, got a little bit derailed by injuries, but a lot of respect for him always wanting to come back and always finding a way to come back and never giving up. So yeah, a lot of respect for D Rose and his game and him as a person. What? This?
No, you got a thing on your elbow.
That? Oh no, I've been wearing that for a long time. That's just. No, actually, when I was in college, I hit my elbow and I wore that, and actually had a couple good games, and I kept wearing it and kind of gives a little bit of style, so I don't look too blunt on the team. You know, I'm not a flashy player, so it gives me a little bit something to not look boring on the floor. So no, but mostly. Yeah.
Check your teams.
Josh, I'm Casey Johnson with the Chicago Sports Network. Welcome to Chicago. First of all, I'm kind of curious how you came out of the Olympics physically, and how important will this training camp be, given that it was probably an atypical offseason for you, so you haven't been in Chicago working with your new teammates?
Yeah, I mean, the Olympics, I think, and I had the World Cup last summer, so I think throughout the summer, playing these games does help with keeping in game shape, and I think playing's the only real way to stay in game shape fitness. So it's been, I guess, you know, both a plus and a negative, to the point where you don't get a lot of rest in the off season with these, you know, World Cup and Olympics happening. But at the same time, you get to keep playing and you get to represent your country, which is, there's not a lot of things better than that. So I did my ankle on the last play of the game in the quarterfinal against Serbia. I ruptured my ATFL, so it was a pretty, you know, we thought it was just a regular ankle at the time, but flew back to Melbourne, got scans, and you know, they kind of confirmed that. So you know, it's getting better. It's getting to the point where I'm almost back out there, but we're taking it slow. You know, this is not something you want to rush, and because we've got, you know, time on our side at this point of the off season, we're just making sure it's 100% before we get back into playing. So everything's been great. Rehab's been going well, and I'm looking forward to getting out there with the guys.
Following up on that, what is the timeline? How long are you sidelined for?
It shouldn't be much longer. It's been about, you know, 2 months since the Olympics happened, but I'm right there on the doorstep of playing again, and it shouldn't be too much longer.
Josh, how you doing? Joe Colley, Sun Times. When we spoke to you when you were first traded, one of the things you talked about that the end of that OKC thing taught you was the importance of you becoming a two-way player in defense, and what steps were you able to take towards getting that? And obviously with the ankle injury, that's a setback. But I mean, for you to take that step, is it film study? Is it just a focus and a will to play defense? Because obviously losing Alex Caruso, this team's going to need somebody to be a perimeter defender.
Yeah, look, I mean, defense is, obviously I'm never going to be an Alex Caruso type defender, you know, but I think it's the effort that you put into that side of the ball, and it's obviously never been, you know, my game as an elite lockdown defender, but I think everybody can be a positive on that side of the ball, and that's something I've always wanted to keep getting better at. And I had a lot of conversations with Mark when I was in Oklahoma, and there comes a point in a player's career where the fork is kind of put in the road about where you're at defensively, and you don't want to get to a point in your career where you're known as that guy, that weak link on that end of the floor, and I've never wanted to be that. So just trying. I don't think I was a weak link, but I think if you look at the defenders we had, teams, if they had to go at somebody, it was probably going to be me on that team. But that's the guy I don't want to be. And I think over the summer with the Olympics, I took a lot more pride in that side of the ball, keeping my man in front of me, being engaged off the ball. And same thing coming into the Bulls here. Obviously, AC was an elite defender, and it's going to be a collective effort to kind of make up for that. But that's a side of the ball I'm really willing to buy into and will buy into. And I think, you know, other guys as well, and we can have a really strong collective defensive unit.
Hey Josh, Andy Diedrich, Honor Daily News. I asked Vooch this earlier, but coming to this Bulls team, you know, they were bottom 3 in pace last year. You led a very potent Oklahoma City offense last year. What sort of things specifically are you looking to bring on that offensive side to try and jumpstart this offense?
I think exactly that. I mean, you know, you look around this team that we have, and there's a lot of guys that can handle the ball, make plays in the open floor, and it's a big luxury to have. And you know, as a guy myself that likes to kick the ball ahead, that likes to get things going in transition, it's a great group of guys to play with. And I've kind of spoke with them already, and I spoke with Martis a bit, Zach about it, and just we want to play, you know, up tempo and get moving. And as I said, we've got guys that can. It's positional basketball. It's kind of where the game's headed, and when we can get out in transition, generate, you know, early looks, whether it's layups, open threes. analytically, they're the best percentage shots you're going to get. So we've got a lot of guys that can play the way that we want to, and we've kind of put an emphasis on it throughout the preseason. You know, we've started playing scrimmages with 14-second shot clocks and just really, you know, emphasizing the pace that we want to play at. So, as I said, we've got the guys in this group to do it with, and it's just a matter of kind of drilling it in. And once it becomes a habit, this team's going to be pretty scary to deal with in the open court.
Coach spoke earlier about the potential of like a 3-guard lineup. He wasn't, you know, opposed to that in any way. Do you think that would kind of help really get things going in terms of pace and just getting the ball down the court and getting good shots up?
Definitely. I mean, you know, even if it's, you know, 3-guard, 2-guard, whatever it is, we've got wings as well that can get out and run in transition, and you know that's a big weapon to have. To his point, could be 3 guards, can be 2 and 2, like whatever it is. We've got the personnel to where we can play in transition regardless of who's on the floor, and that's kind of what we want to do, and we spoke about it a lot throughout preseason, and as I said, we've drilled it a lot in with the guys that have been playing, have drilled it a lot in scrimmages, so, you know, it's you can only do so much of it in practice. It's when the game starts, we've got to really emphasize it and get out and run, but as I said, when we do that, and just watching from afar these guys play pickup, they look great when they get out and run. The shot clock's shorter, guys are being forced to play in transition, and we've got the personnel where it's going to look really scary.
Hey, Josh, Darnell Mayberry, The Athletic. I'm curious about your passing. I mean, we all know that you're an elite, great passer, but some of the high-risk passes that you try, can you just explain your mindset in those moments, and how have you evolved in those moments where you see something and you really want to try it, even though it may not be the best, but you're going to try it anyway?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, I guess. I've got kind of confidence in myself where maybe there's passes that I can't make that I think I can in my head, and I try to make them that probably aren't there in the moment, but I guess it's just a confidence thing. You can't, as a passer, you can't live on the edge. You can't, you know, be hesitant to throw passes, because there's going to be times where you turn the ball over. It's just about doing that in moderation, and I spoke with Billy about that, and kind of throughout the Olympics, that was one of the things that if I could go back, I would clean up on, was just the turnovers, and just a lot of it wasn't, you know, lack of ball handling. A lot of it was just careless passes and things that are so easily fixable. And, you know, I've always been a pass-first guy, so just if, you know, I'm going to be making those plays, you want to look after the ball. So putting an emphasis on that. A lot of it's going back, watching film, seeing different things that I could have done that I didn't do in the time, but, you know, just taking care of the ball better is something that, you know, obviously I need to get better at, and just watching the Olympics back, I watched every game and just kind of broke it down to different aspects and going over things where what I should have done differently, what I could have done in that moment. So there's a bunch of things, but you don't want to get to a point of the pass where you're overthinking everything. You just play your game, play naturally, and turnovers are bound to happen for anybody, but as long as you can keep it within moderation, it shouldn't be too big of a problem.
Hey Josh, Julia Poe, Chicago Tribune. Just wanted to go back to the injury. What has kind of the rehab process looked like for that, and what is your expectation in terms of how much you can do in training camp?
Yeah, it's. I mean, originally we thought it was just an ankle roll, so it was going to be the regular rehab, however long that took, and then, you know, scans kind of did confirm it was a ATFL rupture, and we started rehab when I got back in Melbourne. I was there for about a month, and we're, you know, well and truly on track, and came here, continued on that track, so everything's getting much better, and these things, it's probably at a point where if it was a playoff game, I'd be out there playing. But because we're in the off season, this isn't something you want to rush, and we just want to get it 100% right. The medical team here have been awesome with me, working with it every day, rehabbing, continuing to get my ankle stronger. So when I do get back to playing, it's fully fit and healthy, and I'm ready to go.
Do you expect to be fully available on opening day?
On opening day? Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be fine by then. Yeah.
Josh, you know, Kobe White obviously had a breakout season last year. Ayo Dosunmu had a strong end to the season. How do you kind of envision yourself playing alongside 2 other guards who need the ball in their hands as well?
Yeah, obviously Kobe, you know, kind of broke out last year, and it was his coming out party, and the league has kind of been put on notice of how good of a player he is. Ayo's another one, super talented guard, and he was always one of the guys when we played the Bulls that was, you know, one of the sneaky, tougher guys to go against. And obviously, I know this team and the guard depth that it has. It's a big luxury to have, and we've kind of spoke about like sacrifice and what's needed on a team like this with multiple guys that can carry the ball, and that's kind of to the point of getting out in transition where it's going to be kick aheads, throwing the ball up the floor. And it doesn't matter who starts a possession. There's multiple guys that can handle. So we've spoke about it, internally, and it's going to be something that has to happen, because there's only one basketball out there. So one guy can have it at one time, and these things will, as we develop together, training camp, preseason games, we'll start to figure out these little nuances throughout the offense and where we each can be aggressive, where to defer, where to look to get other guys involved. So we've got a bunch of smart guys on this team, and we'll figure it out, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Josh, Alexander Zigic here, to the right, RTS TV, right TV, Serbia. Going back to the Olympics, what are your thoughts on the game, quarterfinals versus Serbia? You had 25 points, played great, but I think it was one of the biggest comebacks at the Olympics for Serbia. And what are you going to tell Nikola Jokic when you see him in town when they come for the game with the Nuggets?
Didn't have to remind me about that. It was the biggest comeback in Olympic history, and it happened to be against us. And that was a game that just sat with me for weeks after that happened, and probably for me the most heartbreaking loss of my career. We were right there. We got up 25 points against a talented team as that, and we had every opportunity to win that game and move on to the semifinals. And to kind of end the Olympic campaign that way was just, it was very hard to do. And I think it adds fuel to the fire for the next time you go back to another Olympic Games. And we've got to wait till LA in 28. But I know the guys that we have on the group are going to be ready to go again and don't want to feel something like that again.
Thinking back about that game, would you have done anything different? What do you think was the decisive factor?
I think in the first half we were great. We moved the ball, we got great shots, and once we got to the second half, we kind of changed what was working for us, and we went a lot, myself included, we went a lot of ISO ball, a lot of no-pass possessions, and it killed us. And they're too good of a team that we're never going to go out that easy, and they're too talented of a team that they were always going to make their run and come back, and we just didn't sustain it well enough. And as I said, it's heartbreaking, but these things help you as a player. It builds character, so we know for next time that to beat a team like that, it's going to take 40 minutes. You can't do it in 20. So we have to keep our foot down, and we just didn't do that.
Josh, Zach LaVine obviously endured injuries last season, and also some off-the-court stuff in terms of trade situations, things like that. People kind of forget. Some people, I think, are forgetting that he's a two-time All-Star, was one of the most efficient scorers in the league the previous 3 seasons. What is kind of your view of him as a player, and how do you think you can complement his strengths?
I mean, yeah, he's a superstar in this league, and he's been an All-Star. He's a max contract guy. He's a star player in this league, and I think, as you said, people forgot that, and I'm super excited to play with him. I know how talented he is. We've spoke a fair bit already about ways we can play together, be effective together, and it'll help when we get on the floor at the same time. But to your point, like a superstar in this league, and people need to show him the respect that he deserves, because he is one of the best players in the league when he's healthy. And for a guy like myself, a pass-first guy, he's going to be an unbelievable teammate to play with.
We have one more question.
We do.
My guy, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, I'm good.
I got 2 questions actually.
Yep.
Bro, how do you keep your hair like behind your ears like that?
A little product. I already had this question before. Wake up, shower every morning, put a little product in there, and it actually stays in place pretty well.
For real, like during the game, do you hit one of these? Like,
well, yeah, I gotta flick it out my eyes here and there. It gets a little sweaty, but
yeah.
No, it's good. I've got used to it at this point in my career, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
Okay, that's what's up. I have another question. Obviously you've been with the Bulls probably like what's been like 2 months, 1 month?
Yeah.
2 months. 2 months now. Who's your favorite teammate so far?
Tough question.
You better answer this question
maybe
right.
Dalen.
There we go.
Maybe Dalen. He was actually, for guys that don't know, I was trying to get a dog while I was out here.
Yeah.
And DT has the French Bulldog Connect.
Yeah, if you need a Frenchie, let me know.
That's the guy to go to. So
yeah, that.
French Bulldog lovers, that's your man right there.
Yeah, I got a Frenchie. I'm gonna bring him next time to talk to you. We're gonna talk. Yep.
All right. Thanks, guys.
got it first. I want to thank everybody. Obviously, I'm very happy to be back here. Extremely happy to be back. You know, in training camp, it's been a long summer. Fully healthy, but you know, I'm excited to come back here, compete. I've had a lot of learning to do and watched a lot of film, so I'm excited to be able to play offensively, defensively, whatever role they put me in. I'm excited for that. It's a you know, when you go through a long off season like I have, you get to learn a lot about yourself and the company you keep. I have an extremely well support system, and I think that with everything that I learned, there's times you need to speak and there's times that you don't. I had probably how long until I talked to you guys? I was talking to you guys in February of last year. Whenever there's something that needs to be said, it'll come from Zach LaVine or my representation. You know, there was a lot of thoughts and rumors, opinions about me, about the organization. So just know whenever it needs to come from me or them, you'll know it'll be from them. I think Rich talked one time, and this is my first talk time to you, so everything else you can take with a grain of salt, with false narratives or whatever it may be. I think going forward, the best way to handle, you know, a lot of this stuff is I'm in a great situation, a great headspace. I'm fully healthy right now, which I don't take for granted. Anything negative that will try to pin me, the organization, rumors, drama, whatever it is, I leave that in the past. I'm focusing a lot on this camp right now, going forward on, you know, this team and helping, learning, and just having a good time. You know, I think that's something that's not talked about enough is, you know, when you need to have good energy, only give into that. You know, I don't want to keep talking about the past or anything because there's a lot of things I can't speak on, but there's no reason to. You know, I had a conversation when I first committed to the Bulls and signed my deal here with Michael, with Jerry, AK, the front office, with the commitment that they gave me, the respect they gave me. I'm going to continue to give them that same respect, but not just the way I play, but with my professionalism. And that won't waver. You know, that's something I stand on. So, you know, anything going forward, I think that's, you know, how I'm going to answer it. I'm looking to, you know, get any questions that you guys want, but, you know, I'm excited for this camp. I'm excited for this year. There's a lot of things that we can do moving forward. So, what's the first one?
Right here. We could all go home now. No, I'm just kidding. Just joking. Zach, Casey Johnson with the new Chicago Sports Network. Wanted to ask you just kind of your thoughts. Obviously, you had two significant roster changes in losing Alex Caruso and DeMar DeRozan. I wanted you to hopefully speak on their tenure here. And you kind of already alluded to fitting in with this camp and this new group. But how do you envision that working out on the court, especially with a guy in Josh Giddey, who's obviously a playmaker that needs the ball in his hands a lot?
You know, I think, obviously, good luck to Alex and DeMar. Those were huge guys to our team. And, you know, wish them nothing but the best of luck. And looking forward to playing against them and talking a little junk to them when we see them. We have a hell of a playmaker in Josh. You know, we played against him plenty of times, and we know what he brings to the table. I understand the roles that I play, but there isn't a situation or a role that I haven't been successful in. And if it needs to be on the ball one day, off the ball, defending, rebounding, leadership, there isn't a role I'm not, you know, comfortable in. So, you know, I'm looking forward to get out there and playing with Josh and competing and seeing, you know, definitely having my hands ready because he can pass that thing.
Zach, Joe Colley, sometimes I know you said you did a lot of thinking and had a lot of time to kind of process. You talked about the support system and all that.
Yeah.
What went into that thought process, or was it the support around you where to make sure that you didn't come into this season with worried about the name on the back of the jersey and not the front of the jersey? Because that's an easy trap to fall into, considering everything you've been through, everything that's been reported, everything that's been talked to. What process did you go through to make sure that you don't fall into that trap, which would be human nature?
I think whenever I'm able to have the chance to put on a Chicago Bulls jersey, I take pride in that. I have since I was traded here, 8 years ago. And, I think that's always been first and foremost in my book, and then being prepared for not just physically but mentally, with the situation that you're in. This is a business, and you have to understand what comes with it. And when you get to a certain status like I have, that's what you have to understand. And I'm okay with that. I've never ran away from it. So I've been, I was preparing myself, just like I would for the season, for everything else that came with it.
To that, how do you make sure you then block out the noise that will continue to go, especially as this year goes on, trade deadline, all that kind of stuff, because it's going to be there.
When you're able to play basketball, a lot of that stuff goes away. Last year unfortunately I was able to, I got hurt, and you can't play anymore. And when that's taken away from you, it's not a lot that you can do besides sit there and try to get healthy. So I think just coming back, being able to be ready for camp and playing is going to take care of itself.
Over here, Darnell Mayberry, the Athletic. You mentioned a few times now your mental space and how at peace you are. Can you elaborate on that and just how you got there this summer, given everything that's going on with this franchise and teammates, former teammates, and what that means for you?
I'm in a good space. I think recovering was great. Being able to have a full summer of training was incredible. I have a beautiful wife and family and kids. There's not a lot for me to be upset about or mad at. I'm in a good place, and especially when I'm now coming back into camp healthy, there's really nothing for me to complain about.
Hey, Zach, Will Gottlieb, CHGO. Just given the way that everything kind of worked out with the last couple of months and missing time and all the narratives that you're talking about, do you feel like you have something to prove now coming back in terms of, like, you are still an elite talent, or, you can still be the guy on a team? What's kind of your mentality around just returning to play?
Yeah, everybody uses fuel and motivation differently. I always have a chip on my shoulder. I played that way since I was 12 years old. I think not just for me, but for us, we have a lot to prove. When people doubt you, you get a little satisfaction with shutting people up. I think that's a mentality we can take forward.
And then, obviously some changes on the roster. What kind of conversations? Billy mentioned that he went to go see you. What have those conversations been like, and what do you expect your role to be? Is that going to be different at all from previous years?
I think when you're coming into a situation where we had a little bit of turnover, you have to have those conversations to be, get prepared for what roles you may be in, what is going to be asked of you. I'm in my 11th year now. I've had 127 different teammates and 6 different head coaches. There isn't a situation that I haven't been successful in or prepared for, or a role I haven't played. So I told Billy, whatever's going to be needed or asked from me, I'll be ready for, and we can get ready to get this thing moving.
Hey Zach, Andy Seligman with the AP. Just what is your level of surprise that you are here and didn't get traded?
Like I said, I'm talking about anything with camp going forward. I can't speak on the future. I wish I had a crystal ball. I'll talk about a lot of things.
Even Drew Stevens with the Bigs. Zach, there was a report that there were up to 15 proposed trades this summer, or going back to last season with you involved. You're still here. Do you take it kind of personally that you weren't able to be moved?
Like I just said, man, I don't speak on rumors. I don't speak on things that I don't know is true or not. I know I'm ready for camp, and I know I'm wearing Chicago Bulls jersey. Yeah, I'm happy for that.
Zach, Josh Hicks, Honor Daily News. Kobe White obviously had a pretty impressive season last year where he made a case for Most Improved Player of the Year. What expectations do you have of him going to take on more of a leadership role, more of an experience role this upcoming season? And second question is, Derrick Rose obviously retiring. You had your fair share of moments playing against him. What's one of your fondest moments of it?
The first one for Kobe. Kobe's been ascending since we drafted him. We've seen it, but with the opportunity of injuries or whatever it may be, Kobe was when opportunity knocks, some people are ready to step through that door. Kobe's always been ready for that. you talk about his leadership. He's been doing that for the last couple of years. Kobe's a very outspoken person and somebody that we can count on for consistency. You know, not just with his play, but with his personality and the way he talks. You know, so I think that's going to be great for us. You know, Kobe is going to continue to get better and better. I've been one of his biggest supporters, you know, since he was a rookie, and I can't wait to see where he keeps going. D Rose, man, he's a legend. There's not enough that you can say about the career he's had and the struggles that he's had and his ups and downs. But I think as a person, you know, and I don't know him personally like some other people do, but having conversations with him and other people around the league of how respected he is and how much better of a person he is than a basketball player. And that says a lot coming from a former MVP, you know. So my hat's off to him. I hope him and his family are extremely happy, and he's had a hell of a career.
Zach, we talked to you in LA in February, right after the surgery. You said you're fully healthy. You said even then you were going to beat the organizational timeline. I assume you had pretty much a normal off season.
Yeah, a little bit longer going. Yeah.
Talk us through that process and just kind of what shape you're coming into camp in physically.
I feel really good. You know, I recovered quickly. I think I was doing contact in June, and you know, since then I've been training. You know, on my body and you know everything else. So it's you know, I'm ready to go. I had a full off season. Nothing different that I wouldn't have had. You know, I'm very prepared for camp. Thank you, guys.
Did I? Yeah.
Kobe, Joe Colley, Chicago Sun-Times. You've always talked about you kind of take stock into every offseason of working on weaknesses and continuing to cover up as many things and improve those things. What was your focus this summer? I know you spoke a lot about defense last year, that wanting to get better on that side of the ball. With on and that kind of stuff. How important is that for you? And then was that something that you did work on? I mean, where you just kind of focus in on hey, this is the next thing I need to cover up?
I guess you could say that. I'm always working on that end of the court. I think I made leaps after my third or fourth year in one of those. But for me, it's just continuing to work on my whole entire game. I still have a long way to go. So this summer, really honed in. My number one goal was to hone in on my conditioning, so I can become that two-way guy, so I can, you know, put forth the same effort on both ends. So that was a big thing for me this offseason, was conditioning, and then just building on my overall game, whether it be hitting contested shots, ball handling, playing in the paint more, playing with better pace in the paint, keeping my dribble on pick and rolls, whatever it may be. I kind of just try to work on, you know, a little bit of everything this summer, like I always do.
Kobe, Casey Johnson with the new Chicago Sports Network. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, obviously you took such a jump last season at both ends, but particularly offensively. How do you envision taking another step this season when you're going to be in a role where you're playing some on the ball and now with Josh Giddey some off the ball as well?
Just adapt. I'm used to playing different roles, and I've been doing it my whole career. Just on the ball, off the ball, whatever it may be. I think I thrived in multiple roles. So for me, I'm excited. It's a different opportunity to learn coming off last year, just stepping into a new role. So for me, like I said, I just take it day by day, one day at a time. I'm excited. New season, so got a lot of new faces here. Getting to know these guys has been great on and off the court. So I've had a blast getting to know them and playing with them.
Hey, Kobe, Julia Post, Chicago Tribune. Kind of following up on that, what sticks out to you about Josh Giddey as a player, and how do you kind of envision your games matching up together?
Well, playing against him, he's obviously a really big guard. He's tall, 6'8", 6'9", whatever you want to say. can really pass the ball, has a high IQ, really competitive, has an edge to him. So that's the thing I like about him the most is that he's super competitive. He wants to win. He's not going to back down. So for me, just getting to know him off the court has been great. Also, he's a really good dude, really great guy. I'm excited. You know, he brings another dimension. Obviously, with Zoe coming back, him and Zoe going to be able to push the pace, kicking the ball ahead, both being pass-first guys. So we're all excited for him to be here, and we're blessed and fortunate for him to be here.
Kobe, right here, Josh Hicks, Honor Daily News. Obviously, last year you had a very impressive year where you made a case for Most Improved Player of the Year. In your eyes, what is the next step that you want to take to achieve to go higher in that way? And do you have any personal accolades that you want to achieve this upcoming season?
Obviously, build off last year, staying consistent in that. Obviously, I think each year I've been getting better and better, so that's kind of how I just want to focus on. Personally, I don't really have much accolades. Obviously, build off last year. But like I said, each year I just want to get better and better. So that's what I'm focusing on, just taking it day by day. And I take steps that way, not looking towards the future, living in the present, living in the now. I think that takes away a lot of pressure on yourself. If I just control what I can control today, which is getting better mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So that's kind of how I look at it and kind of how I view it.
Kobe, Mike McGraw, Daily Herald. You can make an argument that your two best years in the NBA were when you were kind of considered the full-time point guard, including last year. Have they talked to you about what this is going to look like now that you're adding, in theory, Lonzo and Giddey, two other guys who can, play the point along with you?
No, not really. Obviously, I know I'm going to have the ball in my hand, and obviously I'm not. So I think it don't really take much to figure that out. But for me, it's all about growing and maturing. I think one of my best attributes is that I'm real versatile in the way that I can play off the ball and on the ball. So for me, it's just continuing to grow. And like I said, I'm going to use this as a learning experience. Obviously, like you said, would I want to have the ball in my hands all the time? For sure, but that's not realistic. I got really other good guards on this team that's just as good with the ball in their hands. So for me, it's just doing what's best for the team, and I'm excited about this year coming up. Like I said, I can play on the ball and off the ball, and that's something I take pride in.
Yeah, Kobe, Darnell Mayberry, The Athletic. You got some new voices on the bench this year, assistant coaches. What can that do for a team, bringing in some new voices, and then also what have been your impressions so far of Dan Craig and Wes Unseld Jr. specifically?
Yeah, I've gotten to know both of them really well over these couple of weeks, and they're really great guys off the court, and you can hold a conversation with them, and getting to know them. They're really good guys. Obviously, both have really good experience. Coach Dan, obviously was in Miami for all those years, so he comes from a winning culture, and obviously Coach West was in Denver. He was a head coach, so both of those guys got a lot of experience. And for me, like I said, I always just trying to find ways to learn. And I've been picking those guys' brains day in, day out. Me and especially Coach West, we talk all the time, and Coach Craig too. But we talk a lot, and just trying to get their perspectives. And like I said, they've been around winning. They've been around winning organization, winning culture. So for us, we're trying to build a culture here. And so just learning from those guys and what they've experienced over the years has been really good for me.
Kobe, is one of the veterans on the team, one look backwards. Can you just kind of summarize what Alex Caruso and DeMar DeRozan meant to this franchise over the previous 3 years, and what will it be like facing them as opponents?
It'll be weird, first off, facing them. It's crazy. We faced Alex in the home opener. But those guys I learned so much from those guys that I'm forever thankful that I get to call each of those, legends, teammates. So for me, those are relationships between me and those guys that's going to last a lifetime. And I was super grateful that I got to learn from those guys, pick their brains, and obviously even more grateful that I get to call them friends and I get to, reach out to them and learn from them at any moment. No matter what team we're on, I know I can always count on those guys to be there for me, and I'll always be there for them. So it hurts. I'm not going to lie. It hurts losing teammates, but especially when you build bonds and you go to war with those guys each and every day. I know Alex's whole family. Whenever I'm in LA, I know Debo, his son. I FaceTime his son. So it's it's hard losing those guys when you get those close to somebody, but it's part of the business. But yeah, I mean, we obviously lose a lot. We gain a lot, but we obviously lose a lot, and especially with those guys, DeMar, obviously his fourth quarter scoring, his leadership in the games, and then AC, his first team all defense. I think that speaks for itself. But like I said, it's another opportunity for all of us to step up in new roles and take advantage of our opportunities.
Sam Smith, Bulls.com. Kobe, obviously, a lot of guards on this team. Could you see the possibility of embracing a Jamal Crawford type of six-man role, even given what you accomplished last season?
I mean, like I said, I'm down for whatever the team needs, whatever role that may be. I'm always been the team first guy, no matter what. So for me, I'll always do what's best for the team, whatever role that may be or whatever necessarily what comes with it.
Drew Stevens with the Bigs. Kobe, I believe you're on the record as saying there's nothing you could have done last season to prepare you for the amount of minutes you've got. Billy Donovan spoke to it as well while he was up here. What went into that conditioning work you did this summer to be in a better position this season?
I think just pushing myself I think with conditioning, the one thing that where I train at, they told me is like pushing yourself when you get to that uncomfortable spot where it's like you can't breathe and you don't know if you can keep going, but it's like pushing past that barrier. So for me, it was trying to reach that limit and then pushing past it, whether it was running. I know where the place I train at, they have a high altitude room. They have all types of ways that you can condition yourself and get better, hot yoga room, whatever it may be. I think part of becoming a better condition is suffering in a way that, you know, like you said, when you get to that moment where it's like you can't breathe and you don't know if you can keep going, I think just pushing past that barrier, when you get a little uncomfortable, I think that's how you become well conditioned. So I focused on that a lot this summer. It was super tough and obviously a challenge, but it was fun. It was fun, you know, breaking past barriers and getting to where you want to get to. So, yeah.
Yeah, Kobe, there's a lot of talk about leadership on this team, the need for it in the absence of DeMar and Alex. They said you helped organize the mini camp this summer. Like, what does leadership look for you like? What does that look like for you now going into this season? I mean, how do you go about embracing that more?
Yeah, I ain't gonna take all the credit. Io was a big help too with the mini camp in Miami. Me and Io kind of led it, and he was a big help. So I think for all of us young guys, for myself, everyone, I think it's like I say, we stepping into a new role. I'm excited for the challenge. It's kind of wild for me to sit here, you to ask me that question, because I'm still only 24, but it's like it's a blessing, for me to be in the best league in the world and be considered as a leader on the team. So for me, I'm never going to take this for granted. I'm going to do my best by my teammates. Always going to put them first. So for me, I just want to help any way that I can. I've had a chance to learn under some great leaders, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, Thaddeus Young, Garrett Temple. Like, I've had an opportunity to learn from people who's been in this league a long time and that knows what winning looks like. So for me, I just want to take everything that I learned and continue to learn, but also put it into fruition.
Hey, Kobe, Will Purdue, CHGO. Do you feel like the game is now slowed down from you? Players always talk about, hey, the game is now slowed down. Do you feel like it's slowed down to where you can see it one step ahead to help you make the right choices in a game?
Yeah, I think it obviously, like I always say, people that comes different for everyone. Some guys might come into the league and they're already, it slows down quicker than some guys. I think for me, it's becoming a slow down. I think last year was a big step in slowing down, but I think I still have a ways to go in terms of manipulating and controlling and being more patient. That's obviously stuff that I worked on this summer. But I think with the experience I had last summer, that's why I'm so excited for this season, that what I went through last season it only prepared me to become a better player. So I think taking everything that I learned this far and putting it and applying it to this season is going to be a good one for me.
Well, what is the biggest thing for you that you've had to step back and accept to take what you did last year, the conditioning part that you talked about, and the mental aspect now to get to that next level?
I think just realizing that, like, now it's got to be I think the biggest thing that I looked in the mirror, like, now it's got to be a night in, night out thing. It's got to be an every night thing. It can't be some games, this game, that game. I got to build on this, and then, like, that's what I talked to DeMar with a lot about, was just like how he prepares for every moment, how he prepares for every game, because he's a guy that obviously does it night in and night out, no matter if we run a back-to-back, Fifth City and 7, whatever it may be. He's a guy that, so I always pick his brain about it, and that's the one thing that he told me is, like, now you're at the point where everybody knows who you are and what you can do, and now you got to find ways where you might have the first, second best defender on you each night. Now you got to figure out ways to do it night in, night out, and to do it against when teams are game planning on you. So that's part of some of the honest conversations that me and him have had. So I'm just continuing to learn, and I think that's the one thing that I got to be prepared for. Appreciate y'all.
Lonzo, Casey Johnson with the Chicago Sports Network. Obvious question, how are you feeling physically, and how confident are you that you're going to be able to navigate this training camp?
I'm feeling good, man. Happy to be here. Blessed to be here for sure, first and foremost. And happy to see y'all again. I know it's been a minute, but I'm looking forward to camp. Ready to get the year started.
Follow-up, obviously you need to see, once you get into camp, how you're reacting physically, but are you confident that you will be in uniform on opening night?
Yeah, man, that's the goal. Obviously, we can't really tell the future, but that's the plan I'm on, and I think I'll be ready for the first game for sure.
Lonzo, how you doing? Joe Colley from the Sun-Times. So, from the people you've talked to, obviously you've had medical on both sides, your side and the Bulls side. How does this map out? I mean, is there minute restrictions? Is there no back-to-backs? I mean, how's this thing going to look as we kind of get towards the start of the season and you want to be ready to go on opening night?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an ongoing process, obviously. This is something that no one has really came back from, so I'll be the first. But we had a couple conversations about it so far. Obviously, back-to-backs are off the table right now. Definitely will be a minutes restriction. We don't have a set number yet, but there will be one. But it's going to be constant communication throughout the year just because this is a sort of new project, if you will, that we all have to get through together.
A follow-up to that, they go and get Josh Giddey, who obviously, even when we spoke to Josh earlier when he was first acquired, that he talked about, rebounding for positional size and up-tempo, something you're very good at. When they did that, did you take that as, they've already moved on from me, or did you see it as an organization just playing the insurance card because they didn't know what you would be or if you would be available?
I think they're trying to do what's best for the team. Obviously, we had a lot of success when I was running point guard, getting rebounds, pushing it up, and Giddey is capable of doing the same thing. So for me, I look at it as like they want to win the most games as possible, and they feel like he can do it. We feel like he can do it, and that's why he's here.
Hey, Lonzo, Andy Diedrich on your Daily News. You've obviously been away from the team for a while. I know you're still in communication with a lot of them. It's a new-look team. Are you concerned that you may have lost some of the chemistry on court with some of the guys that have been here for a while, or do you think it's just going to kind of come back as you get out there?
No, I feel like I can personally play with anybody. I feel a lot older coming back and seeing the guys in here now. We have a young team, but I'm happy for them. I'm excited to get the year started, and I think everything's going to be fine.
So Julia Post, Chicago Tribune, kind of a two-parter. First, do you feel anything in terms of in the knee, any discomfort, any limited range of motion, or is that completely cleared up?
Well, I pretty much have a brand new knee, so it's always going to be a little different than what God gave me to start off with. But I'm feeling good. I'm feeling healthy enough to play, so that's all that really matters. Just managing it throughout the year and being available.
And then to follow up on something you said earlier, this is a recovery process that no one's really gone through before. How often does that weigh on you at all? Is that something that you think about? How does that affect just your mindset, knowing that this is kind of an unforged path in terms of recovery?
I just feel like this was just my journey. It's not like I wanted to get hurt. It's just something that happened. And you got to deal with, obstacles that come in your life and overcome them the best way you know how to. And for me, that's what I've been trying to do, just stay focused, stay grounded, and just put all the work in I can.
Lonzo, over here, Honor Daily News, Josh Hicks. Do you feel like at any point that your game might have to change a little bit considering all the work that's being played?
For sure. Obviously I'm not going to be as athletic as I once was before, but I feel like, skill and IQ can go a long way, especially in the league. So I'm not too worried about it. Obviously the game is going to have to change a little bit. But I still know how to play the game, and I think I can play at a high level.
Westerlund from 670 The Score. It's obviously been a long journey for you, and I think you've talked about the ups and downs before to us on podcasts and stuff. Was there a specific point where it really felt like a turnaround for you as it pertained to coming back and the hopeful tone you're striking now? Any moments stick out in your mind along that journey?
No, just it's been a really long process, to be honest. I've been listening to all the doctors, doing all the rehab that I can to get back to this point, and I'm a lot farther than a lot of people thought I would be at this point now. So for me, it's just listening to the people that are smarter than me and just trying to provide my best self.
Lonzo, Billy Donovan said something on the radio last week that I thought was interesting. He talked about your love for the game. It's not just about this season. It's, barring a setback, playing beyond his contract. And so the organization almost owes you the responsibility of making sure you're healthy moving forward, too, not for this season but beyond. What is your reaction to that? And overall, what have you thought about the organizational backing and commitment to you as you've endured this process?
Yeah, they've been with me the whole step of the way. I have nothing but love and respect for them. That's why, when I put the jersey on, I'm going to give them my all. That's not going to change. 26 years old, going into year 8, I still feel like I have a lot of basketball left to play, and they do as well. That's why I'm still here.
Yeah, Lonzo, Darnell Mayberry, The Athletic. You're getting into the media business. It's off the court, podcasting. What made you want to do that, and what is your goal in taking that on?
Just being realistic. I always had to think about the chance of not being able to come back. So, I had to pivot, start some other things that I was comfortable doing, and that came very easy to me. It also helps that I have, family with me as well that I can bring up along the way. And it was just a endeavor outside of basketball, kind of in basketball still, though. And that's kind of how it started, and, we'll see how far it goes.
Sam's.
Yes. What do you want to show the audience from your podcast?
I don't really have any set agenda or anything like that. For me, it's just talking about what's going on in daily life, keeping updates. It would be nice to give my own, updates on my own platform about myself and my injury, throughout the year, so I don't have anything spun, you know what I'm saying? But just staying with the culture, staying in the now, and just having a good time, really.
Sam Smith with Bulls.com. Do you see yourself a sort of responsibility in a sense, like you said, it's a unique surgery, hadn't done before, kind of like a responsibility as a trailblazer, like, other players might be able, if they see that you succeed with this, it might help other players going forward develop a confidence that, hey, maybe I can recover by doing what you do. Do you feel like a responsibility that weighs on you too, that your others will be looking at your recovery to, that.
I don't know if I would necessarily call it a responsibility. I just feel like I owe it to myself to give whatever I got, and whoever I can help along the way, I'm always have an open line, open hand, and hopefully everything goes as planned, and other guys, that have the similar situation, can prolong their career and keep going because they finally seen someone do it. So.
Lonzo, Will Gottlieb, CHGO. I'm wondering, was there ever a point, 3 different surgeries, 2.5 years, where you felt like, I don't know if I can do this, or was there ever a moment of doubt that you were going to be able to make this?
I think naturally you're always going to have some type of doubt, especially, when it's a lot of ups and downs going on. But like I said, the coaches have been with me the whole time. The front office has been with me, my family, close friends, loved ones. So I've had a lot of people around me to, keep me pushing, and I extend a lot of credit to them. Appreciate it.